My name's Nuruddin, and I'm an Arab from Algeria, a country in North Africa. I grew up in eastern Algeria, deep in the desert, surrounded by family, tradition, and Bedouin life. We belong to one of the tribes of Banu Sulaim, one of the most well-known and respected Arab tribes in the region. Where I come from, your tribe isn't just where you're from. It defines who you are and who you'll become, especially when it comes to marriage. Since I was a kid, I was told plainly and repeatedly, I would marry a Sulaimi girl. It wasn't a suggestion, it was more like a command, passed down from generation to generation. My parents never framed it as controlling. To them it was just the natural order of things, the way it's always been. Keep the bloodline, keep the culture, keep the tribe strong. Growing up in the Sahara toughens you up. Life out there isn't soft. It's not romantic like people might think when they see photos of dunes at sunset. It's hot, dry, and full of unwritten rules. But at the same time, there's something pure about it. My childhood as a Bedouin was filled with running barefoot around town with my cousins, chasing each other through alleys, kicking up dust behind us. We'd dodge camels, sneak bites of warm bread when my mum wasn't looking, and watch the elders sip mint tea under the shade, their conversations drifting between laughter and deep talks. My dad was a respected man in the community, always being asked to give advice or settle disputes. People trusted him, and I did too. He was firm but loving, and we had a solid bond. He taught me to speak clearly, walk tall, and fear Allah before fearing anyone else. My mother, may Allah bless her, was the backbone of our home. You'd expect her to be the softer one, but not in our house. She was loving, yes, but she didn't mess around. She raised us right, and I thank Allah every day for her. Even with all that, I always felt this pull, this curiosity about the world beyond the Sahara. My uncle, who worked in Algiers, would come visit with stories about life in the capital and beyond. He spoke about Europe like it was another planet. Tall buildings, fast trains, people from every culture walking shoulder to shoulder. It lit something inside me. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I didn't want to just hear about it. I wanted to live it. School was my way out. I studied hard, especially in languages. Arabic was natural, of course. It's my mother tongue. French, on the other hand, was something I could manage when needed, but it was more of a city language. Out where we were, you didn't hear much French unless you were watching TV. But English? That was different. I knew it was my key to studying abroad. I struggled with it in the beginning, like most of us do, but slowly I got the hang of it. I'd stay up late translating lyrics and watching YouTube videos with subtitles just to improve. All the while, marriage talk lingered. I couldn't escape it. My cousins, especially the older ones, were getting matched up with local girls. Their weddings were massive, like full-blown festivals. Drums, food, tents, hundreds of people. After each one, my dad would pat me on the shoulder and say, "You're next, Nuruddin." A Sulaimi girl, inshallah. I'd just smile and nod. What else could I say? Deep down though, I was thinking about lecture halls in London or train rides in Germany, not wedding tents in the Sahara. I didn't dare speak that dream aloud. It would have sounded like betrayal, like I was ungrateful or ashamed of where I came from, which I wasn't. I loved my people, my upbringing, but I had a different path calling me. And then, alhamdulillah, it happened. My dear brothers and sisters, subhanallah, if you're hearing this, Allah has placed a yearning in your heart, a call to live a life where your deen shines bright, unburdened by the fitna of this dunya. Are you feeling that pull, that restlessness to find a righteous spouse in a land where your deen thrives? Or a parent yearning to raise your children speaking Arabic in Muslim Arab countries like Tunisia, Oman, Algeria, or Saudi Arabia, where they are not only surrounded by the deen, but the Arabic language bringing the Quran's words to life? Or perhaps you're drawn to the Muslim lands of Asia, like Indonesia or Malaysia, to protect your faith. I wrote 5 practical steps to plan your hijrah, to guide you to a life rooted in the deen, inshallah. This ebook isn't just advice, it's a roadmap. Learn to purify your intention, choose a land that nurtures your soul, secure halal income, and prepare yourself and your family spiritually. Whether you seek a spouse, a safe home for your kids, or a place to preserve your deen, these steps are your guide. And like your brother in Islam, I'm sharing this wisdom with you as if we were doing it over a cup of mint green tea, my favorite. Don't let fear hold you back. Purchase 5 practical steps to plan your hijrah now by clicking the link below. Start your journey to a new life, inshallah. Act today. Your deen and family deserve it. When I was 22, I got accepted into a university in Europe to study engineering, a full scholarship. I couldn't believe it. I remember staring at the acceptance letter in shock, then rereading it 10 times just to be sure it wasn't some mistake. The night before I left was emotional. My family gathered for a big dinner. My mom handed me a small pocket Quran wrapped in a cloth. Her hands trembled slightly as she told me, "Pray every day and Allah will guide you." She tried not to cry, but I saw it in her eyes. My dad, always the strong one, placed a firm hand on my shoulder and said just one thing: "Don't forget who you are." My siblings joked about me becoming some fancy European scholar and bringing back a posh accent, but even with all the teasing, I could tell they were proud and a little worried. At the airport, my heart was pounding. Part of me was terrified. I'd never been that far from home. I didn't know what to expect. But the other part of me, I was ready. This was it. I was finally stepping into the world I used to dream about under the starry skies of the Sahara. And I had no idea what Allah had written for me on the other side. When I finally stepped off that plane and took my first breath of cold European air, it hit me. This wasn't just a holiday or a quick visit. I was here to live, to study, to survive. For a desert kid who'd never even seen snow before, it was surreal. I didn't know a single soul, but I told myself I'd figure it out. I had to. The city was fast-paced, clean, and full of people from all over, but it was also lonely at times. You could be on a packed train, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, and still feel like you were completely invisible. I missed home more than I expected, especially during the early weeks. The silence in my flat was deafening compared to the sounds of home. Mom clanging pots, my younger siblings shouting over each other, the call to prayer echoing over our town at sunset. But I adjusted, slowly. University was my anchor. I was studying engineering and the workload kept me focused. At first, I stuck close to the Arab students. It felt safe. There were brothers from Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Iraq, Yemen, even some Saudis. We all had different accents, but we shared a language and a love for strong coffee. We'd meet up after class, go out to eat, sometimes even argue over whose mum made the best dish. I remember thinking, all of us brothers, so far from home, everyone chasing something. Some were here to study, others were trying to escape war or difficult home lives. Everyone had their own reasons, their own stories. Still, I didn't want to just stay in that bubble. I told myself early on, get out of your comfort zone. That's when I met Ibrahim. I was at a small masjid near campus for Asr prayer one day. I noticed this Asian-looking guy next to me. After prayer, he turned to me and greeted me in fluent Arabic. I replied to him stunned and gave him a second look. "You speak Arabic?" He laughed and said, "Yes." His name was Ibrahim and he was Thai. That caught me completely off guard. I didn't know much, if anything, about Muslims in Thailand. I'd always thought Thailand was mainly Buddhist. The idea of a Thai brother who knew Arabic and prayed like me, it was eye-opening. We sat down and spoke for over an hour that day. He told me he was from the south of Thailand, where there's a strong Muslim population. His family was practicing, and he'd learned Arabic during his time in Islamic school before coming to Europe. We immediately clicked. Over the next few months, Ibrahim and I became close. He introduced me to Thai culture, starting with food. I still remember the first time he brought me to a Thai restaurant. I had no idea what I was looking at on the menu. The language looked like hieroglyphs to me, squiggly, loopy letters that made no sense, but he ordered for us, and I fell in love with the flavors: lemongrass, coconut milk, spicy curry, jasmine rice. It was completely different from what I grew up with, but it was amazing. He'd invite me to his flat sometimes and show me how to make Thai tea or stir-fried noodles. He also started teaching me simple Thai phrases, how to say hello, thank you, how to count. I was terrible at first, but I kept trying. Learning about Thai Muslims made me realize how little I actually knew about the wider Ummah. I grew up thinking being Muslim looked a certain way, our way, Arab customs, Arab food, Arab names, but here was a brother who looked nothing like me, came from a totally different culture, and yet we recited the same Quran. Our deen unites nations. It humbled me, and it pushed me to be more open-minded, to stop measuring everything by my own cultural standards. It was the first time I really understood that Islam isn't Arab. It's universal. By the end of that first year, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I was speaking better English, getting good marks in my courses, and expanding my circle of friends. I even picked up a little Spanish from a classmate and finally took French more seriously. Ibrahim and I stuck together all through uni. He became more than a friend. He was like a brother, someone I could turn to when I missed home, someone who reminded me that even far from our homelands, we were never alone. When graduation came around, it felt like a huge milestone. I had made it through 4 years of intense study, isolation, growth, and unexpected friendships. I walked across that stage with my degree in hand, thinking back to the dust-covered boy running through the alleys of my town, dreaming of trains and big cities. But once the celebrations were over, reality kicked in. My visa was about to expire, and I had to return to Algeria. Salamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Want to strengthen our ummah and support this channel? Become a channel member today, inshallah. Your membership fuels my mission to build a vibrant Muslim community, sharing stories and knowledge that we can all learn from. Your generosity reflects the nature of charity we Muslims have in our hearts, alhamdulillah. Choose a tier and enjoy exclusive perks like members-only videos and special shout-outs. Together, let's grow this blessed community. Click join now and be part of something special. Coming back to Algeria after 4 years in Europe was bittersweet. I missed my family, the food, the dry desert air, but I also felt like a foreigner in my own country. It's strange. You go out into the world, learn new things, speak different languages, eat all kinds of food, and when you come home, even though everything looks the same, you've changed. You see the cracks in things you never questioned before. The things that used to feel normal now feel a bit too small. At first, everyone wanted to hear about Europe. My cousins asked about the food, the people, and the football stadiums. My uncles asked about job prospects. My dad just asked if I kept praying. That's all that really mattered to him. But after the excitement wore off, I started feeling restless. I didn't come back just to sit around. I wanted to work, to build something. But Algeria wasn't moving the way I needed it to. Opportunities were limited, and with my qualifications, I knew I could be doing more. That's when the message from Ibrahim came in. "Bro," he wrote, "we're looking for an engineer. You interested?" No fancy introduction, no long explanation, just straight to the point. That's Ibrahim for you. I asked him for details. He said the company was based in Bangkok and needed someone who spoke English and Arabic with international experience. It felt almost tailor-made for me. I didn't think twice. I told him yes. Within a month, I had signed the contract and got everything sorted. The moment I had that plane ticket in my hand, I felt that same mix of nerves and excitement I'd felt when I first left Algeria for Europe. This time though, I was older, wiser. I knew how to adapt. I knew how to survive abroad. The day I left again, my mum gave me the same Quran she'd handed me years ago. "Keep it with you," she said, "and don't forget your prayers." My dad just said, "Don't marry a non-Arab woman." I laughed and told him, "Inshallah, Baba." He smiled, but I knew he meant it seriously. Tribal mentality doesn't die easily. The flight to Bangkok was long, but the moment I landed, I knew I wasn't in Europe anymore. The air was thick and humid, like stepping into a sauna. The colors were loud, neon signs, tuk-tuks zipping past, street vendors yelling over one another. It was chaos, but somehow beautiful. Ibrahim picked me up from the airport, same smile, same energy. "Welcome to Thailand, brother," he said. "Our first stop? Food, obviously." He took me to a hot pot place. I had no clue what I was doing, just dumping things into boiling broth and hoping I didn't poison myself. Then for dessert, we had roti, Thai style, thin, crispy, drizzled with sweet condensed milk and sugar. It reminded me of mizemen from back home, but sweeter. That weekend, Ibrahim gave me the full tourist experience. We visited the famous markets, walked along the Chao Phraya River, and even went to a masjid. Then Monday came, my first day on the job. I was introduced to the team, engineers from all over, but mostly local Thais. The company culture was relaxed but efficient. People worked hard but smiled a lot. And that's when I met her, Aisha. She was one of the engineers on the same team as me. From the very first introduction, she stood out. Not just because she was smart and confident, but because she carried herself really well. Her hijab was neatly wrapped, and she greeted me in near fluent English with a slight accent that was cute. I didn't think much of it at first. We were colleagues after all, and I didn't come here looking for love. We started working on the same project not long after. It was a system upgrade for one of the firm's major clients. Lots of long meetings, shared notes, and emails back and forth. She was sharp, always prepared, always asking the right questions. We'd joke sometimes during breaks, mostly about how confusing certain engineers' handwriting was, or how the printer was always broken. I'll be honest, I was intrigued. She wasn't just book smart, she had this warm presence. She was respectful, soft-spoken, but also carried herself with modesty. You could tell she came from a good family, but still, I kept it professional. Weeks passed, then months. The team began to pick up on things I didn't even notice. One day after work, Ibrahim leaned over and said, "Bro, Aisha likes you. Everyone can see it." I looked at him and laughed. "What are you talking about?" He raised an eyebrow. "Trust me, you'll see." I brushed it off. I didn't want to read too much into things. Sometimes people are just nice. But things changed the night she invited me to dinner. It was after a late shift at work. She asked if I wanted to eat at a new Arabic restaurant that had opened up nearby. I said sure. We sat down and ordered. I got the usual, shawarma and hummus. She surprised me by ordering in Arabic. Not perfect, but pretty good. I looked at her, confused. "You speak Arabic?" She smiled. "I've been learning. I wanted to understand you better." That caught me off guard. She pulled out a little notebook from her bag and showed me pages filled with Arabic vocabulary and grammar. "I want to learn more about your country, your culture, your language, and better my understanding of the Quran." That's when I realized this wasn't just kindness. This was intentional, thoughtful, sincere. I took a deep breath and told her the truth. That I liked her, that I'd felt something from the beginning but didn't want to act unprofessionally or make her uncomfortable. I told her it was okay if she didn't feel the same, but she just smiled and said, "I liked you from the start too, but I didn't want to cross a line." That night changed everything. We talked for hours about family, faith, and where we saw our lives going. Even though we came from different corners of the world, we had the same deen, the same values, the same goals. But I knew this wouldn't be easy. She was Thai. I was an Arab from a tribe that expected me to marry one of our own. This wasn't easy. This was serious. And if I wanted to move forward, I'd have to face my family with honesty and respect. After that dinner at the Arabic restaurant, everything between Aisha and me shifted. It was no longer subtle looks or polite conversations over work. We had both said it out loud now. Our feelings were clear. What came next wasn't just excitement though, it was responsibility. I knew I couldn't just date her like people do in the West. I feared Allah too much to go down that road. If this was real, and it felt real, then I had to do things properly. I had to be a man about it, but I also knew what I was up against. You see, in our culture, marriage isn't just between two people, it's between two families. And in my case, it was also between two tribes, one of them not even Arab. My people had always expected me to marry a Sulaimi girl, not because they thought others were less worthy, but because it was the tradition. Marrying outside the tribe, let alone outside the Arab world, was seen as risky, unnecessary, complicated. But I couldn't ignore what was in front of me. Aisha wasn't just someone I liked, she was everything I wanted in a wife. She was pious, respectful, intelligent, patient. She asked questions about my faith and culture, not just out of curiosity, but out of genuine interest. She wanted to understand where I came from, even if it meant stumbling over Arabic phrases or asking me what certain words meant. She cared about my roots. That meant something. One evening, I sat in my apartment staring at the Quran my mum had given me before I left Algeria. I made istikhara. I asked Allah to guide me, to bless this if it was truly good for me, and as days passed, I only felt more confident. But still, I wasn't doing this without my family's involvement. The first person I called was my older sister Khadija. She'd always been the calm voice of reason in our family. She was married with kids now, but she'd seen how things were changing in the world. I trusted her. I told her everything. How I met Aisha, her background, her character, her interest in Islam and Algeria, even the little things like how she was learning to make mesamen just because I mentioned it once. Khadija listened quietly. Then she asked, "Is she Muslim?" I said, "Yes." Practicing. Wears hijab, prays 5 times, fasts Ramadan, all of it. She nodded slowly and said, "Then I don't see a problem. The rest is culture. It's not Quran. It's not Sunnah." That gave me a wave of relief. "What about Mama and Baba?" I asked. "They'll be shocked, but they'll get over it," she said, "especially if they see she's on her deen." That was the green light I needed. So the next day, I called home. It was evening in Thailand, but still early back in Algeria. My mum and dad both sat in the living room, the TV playing in the background, my younger brother half listening from the side. I took a deep breath and said, "There's something I want to tell you." I told them about Aisha. I didn't start with her background. I started with her faith, her manners, her modesty, the fact that she prayed, fasted, respected her parents, and wanted to be part of my life in a way that honored Allah. Then I told them she was Thai. My mom blinked. "Thai?" she repeated, like she wasn't sure she heard me right. My dad raised his eyebrows. "As in Asia?" I nodded. "From the south, from a Muslim community. Her family's religious. Her father goes to the masjid every day." The silence was heavy. For a few moments, no one said anything. Then my father leaned forward and said, "Do you love her?" "Yes," I said. "Is she good for your deen?" "She pushes me to be better," I replied. He looked at my mom. She stayed quiet, then finally said, "If she's good for your deen, then Allah will bless it." I was shocked, not because I thought they were harsh people, but because I had mentally prepared myself for rejection. Instead, they chose deen over tradition. I could have cried right there. They gave me their blessing. The next step was speaking to Aisha. I told her everything, how my family reacted, the conversations I had, the blessing I received. Then I looked her in the eye and said, "I want to marry you, Aisha, but I want to do it right. I need to speak to your father in person." She smiled. "You really want to go down south? My dad doesn't speak much English." "I'll manage," I said. "And besides, you've been learning Arabic. It's only fair I try Thai." So we booked our tickets. We took time off work and flew to her hometown, a small peaceful area in southern Thailand filled with palm trees, masjids, and the kind of hospitality that reminded me of home. It wasn't what people picture when they think of Thailand. This wasn't Bangkok with its busy nightlife. This was the Muslim South, quiet, dignified, and rooted in Islam. The day we arrived, I was nervous all over again. I had flashbacks to being 22, standing in front of immigration officers in Europe, not knowing a single soul. Except this time, I was meeting my potential father-in-law. Aisha's family welcomed me like a guest of honor. They laid out a spread of food, rice, grilled chicken, soup, tropical fruits I couldn't even name. Her mum smiled warmly and invited me to eat in broken English, while her father watched me carefully but kindly. We sat down. Aisha translated a bit, but her father also tried to speak directly to me. He knew a few Arabic phrases and even quoted hadith. I was impressed. We spoke about life, faith, and our intentions. Then I told him what I came for. I asked for Aisha's hand in marriage. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he asked, "Will you protect her, respect her culture, let her be herself?" "Yes," I said, "and I want her to do the same for me. We'll grow together." He smiled and said, "Then you have my blessing." And just like that, I felt something shift inside me, like 2 worlds had finally met halfway. A few weeks after I met her parents, Aisha and I had said our vows. It was small, simple, and done properly, just the way we both wanted. Her family invited a local imam and a few close relatives. We held the gathering at their home, with men in one area and women in the other. Aisha wore a soft pastel dress with a matching hijab. I wore a white thobe and my grandfather's old Algerian kufi. It was the same one my father wore at his own wedding. It was surreal. I had always pictured myself marrying someone from back home, someone who spoke our dialect, understood our food, laughed at the same jokes, but here I was, thousands of miles from Algeria, holding the hand of a Thai Muslim woman who barely knew 10 Arabic words a year ago, but whose heart had somehow connected with mine in a way I never thought possible. We spent our first few weeks of marriage in Thailand, visiting her extended family, doing a bit of sightseeing in halal-friendly areas, and just enjoying each other's company. We cooked together, went to the masjid, and I taught her how to make shakshuka. In return, she taught me how to use chopsticks and how to say "I love you" in Thai. I kept messing it up, and she'd laugh every time. But in the back of my mind, I knew I had to take her to Algeria. My people needed to meet her, not just on a phone screen, but properly, face to face, so she could see where I came from and they could see who I married. We flew back to Algeria after 4 months. It was her first time on the African continent. I remember her clutching my hand tightly as we landed in Algiers, whispering, "Are they going to like me?" I kissed her hand and said, "Just be yourself." When we arrived in our hometown, I could feel the curiosity. The kids stared, the aunties whispered, even some of my cousins raised their eyebrows, but once Aisha gave her salam, kissed my mum on the head, and helped serve tea with her own 2 hands, everything softened. Arabs respect good manners more than anything. And Aisha carried herself with full dignity. My father sat her down and said, "You've travelled far for our son. Welcome to our family." She nodded shyly and replied, "Shukran, Baba." Her accent made everyone smile. Later that night, during our Algerian-style feast, she wore a green kaftan with gold embroidery. My aunts helped her with her scarf. My sisters did her makeup. It was one of those rare moments when you realize how strong the ummah can be, when different cultures meet not for worldly reasons, but for the sake of Allah. The men sang old tribal songs, and my uncle slaughtered a sheep in our courtyard. It was the kind of celebration I grew up watching from the sidelines, and now I was the groom at the center of it all. After the guests left, my mum pulled me aside and said, "You chose well, my son. She's a good girl. May Allah give you both a righteous home." It meant the world to hear that. Married life hasn't been all perfect, of course. We've had to navigate cultural differences. Sometimes I don't understand why she's quiet during certain situations, and she doesn't always get why I speak so directly. I had to learn to be gentler, and she had to learn to speak up more. But we made a rule from the start: if something bothers us, we talk. No cold shoulders, no drama, just honesty. We now live in a quiet neighborhood on the edge of Bangkok. I work remotely in an IT role while Aisha continues in her engineering job. We pray together, fast together, and try to host small gatherings with our close friends. She's learning Arabic slowly, and I'm getting better at Thai, even though I still sound like a lost tourist sometimes. Every now and then, we talk about visiting Algeria again, maybe even moving there one day, if Allah wills. We've even joked about starting a little dawah center in the south of Thailand for reverts and locals. Who knows, maybe one day. But no matter where we go, one thing is clear. Our marriage wasn't about convenience. It wasn't based on looks or fantasy. It was built on sincerity, sacrifice, and faith in Allah. Looking back, I realized something powerful. Hijrah isn't always just about crossing countries. Sometimes it's about leaving behind comfort, fear, or tribal pride for something greater, for something Allah-centered. Although my journey started in the east of Algeria, it has now led me to the green hills of Thailand. but the destination really was always the same, the path to pleasing Allah and living with honor. And if I had to do it all over again, wallahi, I wouldn't change a thing. Alright mates, I've just finished reading Nuruddin's story, and wallahi, what a reminder it is of the true meaning of hijrah. This wasn't just a man traveling from Algeria to Thailand for love. This was a brother making hijrah for faith, purpose, and building a halal life across borders. As a Libyan myself, I'm honored to share a story from our neighbors in Algeria, the land of 1,000,000 martyrs. Their history is full of courage and sacrifice, and Nuruddin's journey feels like a modern continuation of that spirit, leaving behind ease and familiarity to build something for the sake of Allah. What struck me most wasn't the cultural differences or even the marriage, it was the mindset. Nuruddin didn't chase fantasy. He prayed, took real steps, stayed principled, and trusted Allah with the rest. That's what hijrah is. Whether you're moving countries or moving your heart out of a place of fear or stagnation, it takes guts and it takes trust. Have you ever felt that pull? That feeling that you're stuck somewhere you don't belong and your soul is quietly begging for a restart, for a hijrah. Whether it's from the West to a Muslim land, from sin to repentance, or from isolation to community, your journey begins with a decision. If Nuruddin's story lit a spark in you, don't let it fade. I've got something that will help you take that feeling and turn it into a plan. 5 practical steps to plan your hijrah, a Muslim's guide to a faithful new start. Grab your copy below and start making moves. Let's stop daydreaming about hijrah and start planning it. Drop a comment if this story hit home for you. Have you made your hijrah yet, or are you still wrestling with it? Let's talk. More stories coming soon, inshallah.